so I think I'm just gonna read unless somebody else has like a last call. Last call, kind of thing. Yeah, what's that like closing time? Like that. Yeah. It's like pretty dim in here though. I'm gonna like get me a light so I can see. I have my glasses on, but I still can't see. Cool.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I have this official binder. I don't know how y'all feel about like office supplies, but like Staples is my jam. So it's like even in these like little like these things.
They're a lamp?
Yeah. They're pretty good. So I'm gonna read a poem called Ash.
This is the queen of PowerPoint.
I am the queen of PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint to make all of our promos, so that promo that y'all love is like it's made with PowerPoint. I used to make my resumes on PowerPoint. That's no lie. Yeah, I see your face. I see that face. Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, my professor at TA4 asked me about like, can you please help the student with their InDesign file? And I was like, no. Sorry, I'm honest about my skill set at least. And it's mostly ephemeral things that are unmeasurable, so good luck for me. So yeah, I'm going to read this poem. Ezra told me not to give a warning that it's a little long, but it's a little long, so just bear with me. I took out a verse, though, because I'm feeling like it's not really relevant to me anymore, so that's my only edit. So I'm not going to read that part, so but I'm going to read the rest of it, so y'all can sit and listen. Okay, it's called Ash. I'm going to take my glasses off because I can see when things are close. And they're they're pretty big, honestly. Like, they're big on my face. Right? Like, I have to look down when I'm walking down the stairs so I can see the stairs. It's anyway, okay. I'm nervous talking. I pretend like I'm not nervous, but I'm totally nervous to read my own poetry in front of everyone. So
Doing
I hope
great.
it's yeah, thank you. Okay. At this moment, I'm sitting at a cafe. It's warm enough or cool enough still to sit outside, and I'm soaking it up as much as I can before it slips away into the heavy heat. I bought a box of raspberries and a pack of cigarettes, which will turn green once I get home, promises. This reminds me I should probably order another coffee. Lit another cigarette, handful of raspberries, coffee sips, and yes, everything is settled as best as it can for the time being. It's almost August, almost autumn. It rained last week. It never rains here, and thunder and lightning broke through the walls, and there were waterfalls inside buildings. I was speaking with a taxi driver the other day, and he said he's lived here for 6 years, and never has he seen anything like this. I started erasing Alice in Wonderland, and now she's turning into a collection of erotica poems. There is so much in the air, not just the humidity, but energy, and I am nervous. The energy for me is nervous energy. But I am so thankful to have you in my life by my side and in my thoughts, and I think back to 5 years ago when we weren't speaking in the summer, and that summer became autumn, and that autumn eventually became spring. I remember how difficult it was to go through the days without you. When we met, we talked about the multiplicity of wind. Do you remember? Wind with a D. I feel like I didn't enunciate there. I'll rewind. When we met, we talked about the multiplicity of wind. Do you remember? I walked into the revolving doors going in, and you walked into them going out, and we nearly missed each other. All of a sudden, the doors fell down, and we were left there standing with no space between us. I told you the other day that I'm beginning to trust you, and that scares me, but fear is an immobilizer, and we must not stand still. Did I ever tell you that they kept me handcuffed to a chair until the sun came up? When you said you wanted to kiss me, it reminded me of this. When you said you wanted to kiss me, I wondered how many kisses are sweet and just how many are scary. Way back when the walls were yellow, I remember the walls were yellow, I remember the walls were yellow, but now the walls are blue. Even still, I find myself going down the rabbit hole. I'm working on letting my walls down. By the window I stood, watching the buildings grow toward the sky, and I realize there are certain people in my life I have to keep over there. There are certain people in my life who catalyze paralysis and flight. Do you remember where we met? Under a waterfall, or was it in a classroom? I don't remember. I do remember how I felt, rapid rivers running through my veins. I remember the vision of you. Hands and knees hit the ground when we were overcome with an idea, an impulse to create something from nothing, to create something from everything all at once. We began by collecting the precious things that exist in a world that is other than ours. We stored them safely between pages, pieces of petrified earth. I was gentle with your body, though fingers fell clumsy, leaving whispers on the surface of your skin. I exist in a cyclical nature, therefore we contact each other in a place of repetition. So let's go back to the question of the kiss and all its infinite intimacy. I am horizontal with your lips against my thighs. The most delicate of moments seem to bring back the most monstrous of memories. When I lay by your side, I'm hanging from the ceiling like a three-legged chair that can't stand on its own. I am pulled toward the ceiling, and all there are clouds up there. All there are my own memories. And sometimes you are contained between their fingers. I find myself lost in your lips, captivated by your kiss, perpetually propelling in an unbalanced motion, wondering what will happen when I hit the ground. I was between the ward. This part's about Ezra. I feel like I gotta add that because I'm performing it. So you can't see that when you read it, so you might as well add a little bit of pizzazz. So yeah, I was between the ward and the rest of the hospital when I saw the bed frames upright. There was a forest of them, and they all had webs stretched across their bodies. Oh, I should take this off too for this moment, because like the imagery is like, you gotta see the imagery. Anyway, I'll just pick it up where I put it down. I knew from the start that I would have to walk through them in order to get to you. You drew a spider right over my heart, right between my collarbones, right above my ribcage. She keeps me safe in these moments when I want to scream. She taught me that sometimes it's easier to sing, and in this moment I knew that you would hear me. This is one of my favorite lines I've ever written, honestly, so I'm going to share it with everyone right now. The hum of your existence moves me as a breeze to a willow tree waiting patiently for the eye of the storm. Sunlight. When I feel it touch my skin, I no longer feel alone. I feel light. Sunsets. I used to collect them. I kept them in individual jars on my shelves and watched them as they remained in purgatory, neither dark nor light. I built more shelves as the days went on, months passed, years. I was kept company by these moments that refused to fade away. Then I realized the necessity for certain things will ensure their perpetual existence. Therefore, I broke the jars and set them free, trusting in the fact that there is always more to come. I remember when I found out you were in the hospital. You had disappeared for days, and I just fed your cat and kept busy. I nearly filed a missing persons report, but then I found myself reaching. My phone was ringing, and I found myself reaching toward an unknown number which holds with it the mystery of who. In reality, it is a sales call, an automated machine. It is no one at all. In this moment, your voice was like rain. Rain ricocheting off glass windows. Somebody coughed. Rain ricocheting off glass windows. It's one of my favorite lines, so I had to repeat it. And I recall our waterfalls. I recall where we were when we were safe and with each other. I desperately want to be drowning in your words, but I am on the inside, and ash is falling from the sky. I can see two wicker chairs swallowed in the grass, perch bird bones twisted into form. By the empty river lie their empty bodies, waiting for each other, waiting to be filled. One looks towards the other, and the other looks away. When I told you I spend my summers lifeguarding at the local swimming pool, my winters drinking too many cups of coffee, my springs trying not to slaughter flowers, and my autumns falling in love with the fire of my surroundings every year, all over again, I was lying. When I think about what it means to lie, I don't think of you. I think of somebody else, somebody not worth mentioning, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm beginning to trust in you in ways I'm not used to. Do you remember when we shared my bed? When you were searching for a home, you found it between the sheets of someone you trust, and I am only just beginning to trust in you. In that moment, though, I woke up to you, a racing heart, my chest night terrors come even with a warm body in your bed. Your back towards me, your head on the pillow, your voice was like rain. What's wrong? Hurried heartbeats heard through my skin, nightmare, I'm fine. In this moment, we could hear the screams beneath the skin, although you asked anyway, how are you feeling? You heard, I'm fine. You really heard, this is a nightmare, not again. I cannot believe this is happening. again. In this moment, my voice was like fire, wildfires burning everything in sight. This next part is like a singular poem, but I included it in this poem because it's just like it felt right. So anyway, my body has been to hell. Strapped down to hospital beds, given shots to slow, my mind has been wrapped in barbed wire, drowned in oceans of suicidal ideation, and warped by the medication that is supposed to make me better. I say I can feel the screams inside me, but my skin muffles the sound. I say no. I can feel the screams inside a body whose skin tries to devour the sound. And I think back to our conversation about wind, how wind has no real sound but a multiplicity of sounds. And I realize I identify with the wind, with the slipperiness of its edges, with the impossibility of its existence, and yet here we are. If I'm being honest, I should let you know I have plants that almost outlive me. I have plants that almost outlive me, but my plants went on to grow and flourish, as did I. I find myself constantly killing flowers. There is something about having their bodies near which causes a nostalgia that makes me feel safe, safe as though you are here with me. This next part, is like really like the thesis statement of like what this thing is that we're all like involved in. So like just pay attention. If you spaced out, like it's cool. Just come back for this one sentence. Yeah, just like come back, like make landing on the moon again for a minute, and then you can go back out into outer space, and I'll finish. And for those of you who've been on this journey the whole way, like I thank you. There is nothing I believe in more than the ability for art to build, nourish, enrich, and transform our communities. Yeah, you can snap. It's cool. I told you, it's like the thesis statement to this whole thing. And then this next part is relevant too. So like try to stay on the moon. You know what I mean? I get spacey when I listen to people speak. So, and I know this is long. So anyway. Feel free to like dip in and dip out, you know, do the dance. Anyway, when I think about my work, I think back to an essay written about T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. This essay, when talking about the poem, and I will paraphrase here, says what the poem does is it brings together a community of like sufferers, and it gives that community the conviction to live their lives. My work is meant to function as a survival tool for myself and for others. It's meant to function as abstract oxygen in that it provides a little bit of extra air in our lungs for the people who need it. The work exists for the purpose of giving people the feeling of I am not alone. One day you were flipping through my notebook and discovered a line that I wrote that read, "An unwanted orgasm." If anybody has seen that piece in my studio, this is like a piece of writing I did about it. Realizing you had discovered this line, I was embarrassed and slightly ashamed of my own experience. And at that time, that phrase was the only thing I had in words to convey what I was feeling. Although you pointed to that line and simply said, "Yeah, I get that." And at this moment, my world erupted. Something I was so afraid to feel, to share, actually meant something to someone else. And at that time, I had the feeling of I am not alone. When I reflect on laughter, I just skipped a verse, so this transition is poor, but like I'll fix it later. Don't worry about it. When I reflect on laughter, the last part says it all just made me laugh, but I took that verse out. Anyway, when I reflect on laughter, I find a home. Within my work, laughter is an entry point, beauty is an entry point, poetry is an entry point. Those entry points lead you down hallways of pain, struggle, trauma, and eventually get you through doorways of light, levity, strength. The experience of my work is an all-encompassing and endless journey toward healing. When I reflect on what it means to find a home, I think of you. I think of those doorways covered in kiss marks, so many layers of lipstick you cannot see its surface. When you hit a box of matches with a hammer, they all light at once. At the deli on the corner, I bought the little yellow box with the flower basket on top, safety matches they were called. It was in this moment when I decided on the title of Floral Furnace. When I say floral furnace, I mean little light lady. I mean a fire drenched in flowers. Okay, this is the last paragraph, so if you left me, come back for this last part. This letter has been a long time coming, and I apologize for it taking me so long to find these words. This is an email I wrote to somebody, by the way. This has been a Frankenstein piece of poems and emails. So this is something I wrote to somebody who's like super important to me in my life. Word for word, pretty much. This letter has been a long time coming, and I apologize for it taking me so long to find these words. They were hidden above doorways, in the folds of my clothing, and most obviously under my bed, where all the monsters reside. Although I'm beginning to become friends with these monsters, and I think they are really the folks to thank for giving me the courage to finally write to you. You are someone who knew me at such a key time in my life, as it was just before my diagnosis, someone who saw me battle being unmedicated, someone who believed in me despite everything, someone who can appreciate how far I've come. And for this relationship, I am eternally grateful. Cool. Thanks for coming, everybody. This can go back to being a regular party. We don't have to sit in a seance but thank you for everyone who read. Thank you to Holly and the neighbors, Ezra, Jonas, and Madison. Thank you guys for helping us host the thing. We're a family here, and obviously that's felt.
Julie for emceeing.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I gotta say, he likes my cheetah print scrunchie. That's a new look. Woo! It's a new look. My hair's getting longer. Who's excited for the curls to come back? Anyway, no one's seen it because I'm new here. I'm a new kid on the block.